Manchester United are about to drop a managerial bombshell. Who's taking over the hot seat after Carrick? Arsenal going all in on a La Liga winger with a buyout clause raid. Rüdiger packing his bags back to England, and trust me, his destination will catch you off guard. Barcelona hit with an ultimatum over Rashford. What are United demanding? And a tug-of-war for Murillo. Which two Premier League giants are ready to break the bank? All this and much more in today's episode. Slam that like button and let's dive into the maddest transfer rumors right now. Manchester City are setting the stage for a major summer move. Pep Guardiola has his eye on Nottingham Forest standout Morgan Gibbs-White. Football Insider reports that the citizens would need to shell out a serious sum for the 26-year-old playmaker, around 60 to 70 million pounds. That's a hefty number, but for one of the wealthiest clubs on the planet, it won't be a deal-breaker. Morgan has outgrown Forest a long time ago. Last summer, Spurs were all over him. The North London side were as close as you can get to sealing a deal, but Forest's hierarchy pulled the plug at the very last moment. Instead of letting him go, they talked the player into signing an extension through 2028. Now, though, things look very different. The key factor here is where Forest sit in the table. They're in a desperate relegation battle, and the threat of dropping to the championship has never been more real. Gibbs-White is an ambitious player. At 26, he's right in his prime, and he's definitely not eager to waste his best years in the second division. For him, moving to the Etihad wouldn't just be a step forward, it'd be a fast track straight into the global football elite. Working under Pep, competing for the Champions League, that beats any loyalty argument you can think of. But why does City want this deal? Guardiola needs new energy and more depth in his squad. The talk around Bernardo Silva potentially leaving has been growing louder. The Portuguese has been looking toward Italy for some time, and if he ends up leaving Manchester, the club will need a top-level replacement. Gibbs-White is exactly that. He'd give City the technical flair and creative spark they sometimes lack in tight games. Morgan is a Swiss Army knife. He naturally plays as a classic number 10, but he's perfectly fine dropping deeper into midfield or even leading the line up top if the situation calls for it. 11 goal contributions this season is a strong tally, considering he's playing for an underdog that rarely has the ball. City love his knack for creating something out of nothing and his intensity. In a system built on rapid ball movement, his abilities would unlock even more. The City ground was his launchpad, but now it's time to take the next step. Let's be real. If Nottingham Forest don't survive in the Premier League, this transfer becomes inevitable. Forest would have to offload their stars to balance the budget, and City would be right at the front of the queue. For Gibbs-White, this is the dream scenario. Star status at an elite club and a shot at winning trophies year after year. There's no way Morgan passes up an opportunity like that, not when the best English side of recent years comes knocking. We'll see if Pep decides to make his move as soon as the window opens. Nico Williams and Athletic Bilbao. This story? It looks like it's ending this summer. A seemingly insane 10-year contract was signed not long ago, and yet the Spaniard is ready to walk. And Arsenal are leading the charge. You need to understand the context here. Why sign a deal for a decade if you're about to leave? It's straightforward. Insurance for his hometown club and a locked-in price. His contract currently has a release clause, exactly 100 million euros. That's a serious figure, but for today's market, when we're talking about a young talent of this caliber, it no longer feels out of reach. Team Talk reports that the player's entourage has already let top clubs know the Bilbao project doesn't interest Nico anymore. He's ready to listen, so why now? Look at the La Liga standings. Athletic are floundering in 9th. For a player who wants to play Champions League football, this is a dead end. Current Bilbao simply can't match where Williams' ambitions are pointing. He needs a new challenge. Guys, don't skip past without reacting, it genuinely helps the channel. Give us a thumbs up or down, ideally right now, leave a comment, we'd be grateful. Now let's get to the juicy part. Arsenal. Why would Arteta need yet another left winger? He's got Martinelli, he's got Trossard who puts in excellent spells. But Mikel wants more. He needs depth in the squad and, more importantly, a very specific type of player. Williams brings explosive speed, audacity on the dribble, and above all, ferocious pressing. He's a perfect fit for Arsenal's system, where wide attackers don't just score, they hound opposition defenders from minute 1 to minute 90. Andrea Berta is already testing the waters. Obviously, Arsenal aren't alone in this. The list of contenders is stacked. Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester United, even Bayern and PSG lurking in the background. But the main competitor has always been Barcelona. Nico himself has hinted multiple times that Barça is his dream, the historical attraction and everything. But you and I both know the financial picture in Catalonia. Barça permanently don't have the money, but best of luck. Dropping 100 million in a single payment right now, that's fantasy territory for them. So Arsenal look like the frontrunners. They have the funds, a clear vision, and a Spanish coach who knows precisely how to maximize Williams' strengths. About that 100 million price. Yeah, it's steep, but that figure is just a starting point for talks. If the player clearly states he wants out, Athletic might become more willing to deal rather than keep a disgruntled player on a huge wage bill. And look at the age, 23 years old. This is an asset that could appreciate even further. Think about what was spent on Caicedo or Enzo Fernandez. Against that backdrop, 100 million for one of Europe's top wingers is a perfectly fair deal. Right now, things are moving quietly. But Williams being the biggest name on Arsenal's transfer radar in the coming weeks, that's a fact. If they pull off signing Nico without overpaying on personal terms, it'll be yet another masterclass from the front office. Face it, Martinelli sometimes struggles with consistency, and Trossard is ultimately getting older for a rotation role. Williams is an upgrade, right here, right now. Federico Chiesa is getting closer and closer to leaving Liverpool. The Italian has been buried in the squad rotation, and in 2026 he hasn't spent more than 10 minutes on the pitch in any Premier League match. For a player of his caliber, that's flat-out humiliating. Calciomercato reports that Liverpool are ready to sell Chiesa for 15 to 20 million euros. For a top club, that's almost laughable, but there's a catch. The Italian salary is 7.5 million a year, and that's where the real problem starts. Potential buyers just can't handle a contract like that. For the move to happen, Chiesa needs to rein in his financial demands. The question is he actually willing to do that? This story's already had a follow-up. Juventus tried to bring him back to Turin. Chiesa was fine with it, but Liverpool were stubborn, demanding a full sale, no loans, no payment plans. Juventus couldn't match those conditions, and the deal fell apart. Even with the player himself ready to take a pay cut, Liverpool's position put a stop to everything, and let's be clear, this isn't some ordinary player. Chiesa dragged Italy to glory at the Euros, was a key piece at Juventus, and in his rare Liverpool appearances, he's shown the quality is still absolutely there. He's 28 years old, the peak of his career. Spending it on 10-minute bench cameos is a waste of everything he has. Chiesa wants to go back to Italy. That makes complete sense. He understands that football, they know him, they respect him. But the wage demands could be a hard wall to break through. Serie A clubs rarely deal in those kinds of numbers. So it's either Federico lowers the bar or he sits in Liverpool's reserves until his contract expires. There doesn't seem to be a third way, and Liverpool aren't in a great spot here either. The Reds need attacking reinforcements on the wings, not an expensive squad player who doesn't fit Slot's system. Selling Chiesa and investing in the right signing is the most sensible outcome for everyone. The question is whether the Italian is pragmatic enough to put his financial ambitions aside, because time is working against him. Barcelona is already deep into building a plan B for the inevitable split with Robert Lewandowski. The Pole is a machine, no question, but age catches up with everyone, and the club knows it. Time to find a new killer up front. Priority number 1, Julian Alvarez. The Blaugrana front office is convinced the Argentine would be a perfect replacement for Lewa, even though he's been a bit off the boil in Madrid lately. But the Catalans need to move fast because Atletico aren't sleeping either. They can see Barcelona's interest loud and clear and decided to get ahead of the game so they don't lose their prized asset. According to Sport, the Madrid club has already put a new contract on the table, and this is with his current deal running all the way to 2030. Atletico's bosses want to completely tie the hands of any potential buyers, and it's not just Barça waiting in line. Chelsea and Arsenal are right there too. The logic is clear. Keep Alvarez long-term and improve his conditions enough to kill any thoughts about leaving. The timing couldn't be better. The offer came right after Atletico destroyed Barcelona 4-0. In that match, Alvarez tasted blood again, started scoring, and showed signs of that killer finishing that made him so valuable at City. Julian himself hasn't signed anything yet. He's taking his time. Insiders whisper that if he does leave, Barcelona is his preferred destination. But let's be real, pulling him out of Madrid won't just be expensive. It'll be astronomically expensive. Arsenal already tried coming in with 120 million euros and got politely shown the door. With a long-term contract in hand, Atletico will dictate whatever terms they want. They don't need money right now. They need a leader. And Alvarez isn't just about goals and assists. The guy has insane football intelligence. He finds open spaces brilliantly, and, what's critical for any top club, he works like two players in the press. He's got that champion's character and a winner's mentality. Physicality, technique, it's all there to tear apart any league. Right now, the ball is in the player's court. If he digs his heels in and pushes for a move, Atletico will have a tough time. But for now, it looks like Madrid is determined and ready to do whatever it takes to keep their star from going to a direct rival. Looks like this summer we're in for a fierce transfer saga, where Barcelona will need to find serious leverage to meet Atletico's demands. Manchester United finally showed some teeth in their negotiations with Barcelona. The Rashford story just got a new twist, and the Red Devils are playing hardball. You agreed on 30 million euros? Then pay up. If the Catalans want to keep the Englishman for good, they need to put down the full fee that was locked in last summer before the loan. And honestly, the whole situation is fascinating. Rashford ran to Camp Nou like it was a dream escape after being frozen out under Ruben Amorim. The Portuguese coach was blunt about it. Marcus wasn't in his plans. So Spain became exactly what Rashford needed. He's thriving in La Liga, he's got his form back, and he's clearly not in a hurry to come home to England. Deco seems satisfied and wants to keep the winger. But here comes the classic Barça move. Love the player, hate the price. They're trying to chip away at the fee. 30 to 35 million for a player they actually want? Too rich for their blood, apparently. They were hoping United would just fold, desperate to dump a high-wage name. But ESPN reports Old Trafford fired back loud and clear, "We're not moving. Full stop. Pay the buyout or Rashford's on a plane back." And since his deal runs to 2028, United holds all the cards. The wild card in this story? Michael Carrick. He's running things at Manchester as caretaker for the rest of the season. The irony is that Rashford's best ever form came when Carrick was part of Solskjaer's backroom staff. Perfect timing, right? Bring the boy home. Carrick reportedly thought about it, even put out some feelers, but never brought it to the board. He probably sees the reality. The club wants the fee more than the reunion. A return to Old Trafford is still considered a long shot because those bridges are pretty much gone. Now let's look honestly at what Rashford actually does at Barcelona. The Spanish press says, "Ha cumplido," he did what was asked. Fair enough, but in practice, he's a premium squad option. Signed as a striker, used as the first man off the bench to replace Lamine Yamal or Rafinha. Not exactly the starring role he was picturing, but it works. He comes on, he makes a difference, no drama. In the end, the whole thing hinges on one question. Will Barcelona blink? 30 million euros for a rotation player, even a high-profile one, is a stretch for a club that's always scraping for financial flexibility. But United has made their position clear. No discounts. Rashford is a proven commodity, and the sale price hasn't changed. Either Barça comes up with the money, or Marcus is stuck in no man's land, unwanted at home, unaffordable abroad. The classic modern football trap, where a player's dream runs straight into a spreadsheet. Antonio Rüdiger is giving serious thought to coming back to England. The German center-back might leave Real Madrid this summer, and over in London there's a whole line of clubs waiting for him. Caught Offside reports that 3 London sides are watching closely: Tottenham, Crystal Palace, and West Ham. Rüdiger is willing to hear out Premier League offers if his time at the Santiago Bernabeu reaches its natural conclusion at the end of this season. Moving to Spain once looked like a real triumph for Antonio. After a brilliant run at Chelsea, where he anchored the defense and won the Champions League trophy, he made the switch to Real Madrid on a free transfer. In Madrid, he helped deliver another European Cup for Los Blancos too. But recently, things have shifted. Injuries became his main problem. Ongoing fitness struggles threw him completely off course. This La Liga season, he's managed only 8 appearances. While a fit Rüdiger is still seen as a first-choice player, Real Madrid's leadership is already planning for the future. The club is actively scouting young center-backs, and there's no indication they'll extend his contract. Factoring in his age and the deal running out, a split seems like the most probable scenario. This is a golden opportunity for London's clubs to land a seasoned pro. Spurs are hunting for solid upgrades in defense, and Rüdiger's character and physicality make him an ideal candidate. But it's not straightforward. To lure someone of his level, Tottenham need to do more than just stay in the Premier League during their current relegation fight. Ideally, they'd need to offer Champions League football. Being a free agent makes Antonio a real catch, but his salary expectations will be sky-high to match. Crystal Palace and West Ham showing interest is ambitious, but a lot rides on contract terms and whether they stay up. The Hammers aren't in a position to dream big. They've got to sort out their own survival before chasing global stars. For Palace, landing someone like Rüdiger could be a massive image boost, provided they can meet his financial appetite. Still, England isn't his only path forward. As far back as January, Rüdiger rejected a lucrative proposal from Saudi Arabia. But the Saudis don't take no for an answer. Once Antonio is officially a free agent, Middle Eastern clubs will surely return with even crazier numbers to pull him their way. Meanwhile, PSG are also tracking developments. Paris always goes after high-profile players available without a transfer fee. For them, it's a cost-effective way to bolster their backline with a battle-tested defender. At 32, Rüdiger is still tactically intelligent and physically imposing. Sitting on the bench in Madrid clearly frustrates the German, and he's ready for something new. It seems like a major tug-of-war is coming for one of Europe's most charismatic defenders, and right now, London looks like the most likely destination. Liverpool and Chelsea, both of them chasing one of the Premier League's hottest defenders, Murillo from Nottingham Forest. The Scousers were on him last summer, looking hard at ways to reinforce their center-back spot. But Forest wouldn't budge. The deal died, and the lads stayed to pull the team through a relegation scrap. But now, different story. Insider Graham Bailey says Liverpool and Chelsea have done the heaviest lifting on the 23-year-old. Arsenal and Man United are watching too, but they're just spectators right now. These two are already setting things up for a move. At Nottingham, there are no delusions. Inside the club, everyone gets it. Murillo has maxed out what Forest can offer him. No point keeping him in a cage, especially when the player's already got his bags packed and wants to level up. Forest are ready to sell, but not for cheap. Expect the bidding to start at £50 million. That's a fair price for a finished product, especially with how crazy the market is right now. Liverpool have a clear agenda. Yes, they've already moved and locked in Jeremy Jacquet from Rennes as a long-term option, arriving in the summer. But the Reds need top quality right now. A lot rides on Ibrahima Konate. If the Frenchman keeps stalling on a new contract, the club will need a replacement yesterday. Murillo fits the bill. Liverpool live and die by their high line, so they need defenders who recover fast. And the Brazilian? His pace and awareness are rock solid. Chelsea, true to form, keep hoovering up anything that shines and meets their age requirements. The Blues are pumping resources into youth and want a bulletproof defense for the long haul, but it comes down to the player's choice. Murillo has already proved the Premier League can't scare him. Since arriving from Corinthians, he adapted in no time. The guy's a machine in one-on-one duels, carries the ball forward with confidence, and has zero fear starting attacks from deep. Here's the kicker: he's left-footed. For modern coaches who live and breathe tactics, that kind of defender is worth gold. It gives better passing angles and more ways to play out under pressure. That's the exact profile clubs are ready to go to war for. Murillo's entering his prime. He's 23. He wants Champions League football. If Liverpool can offer him a starting spot, trophies to fight for, and the money to seal it, this deal looks very much on. Chelsea will have to push hard to top what the Merseysiders put forward, not just in wages, but in the whole sporting project. Either way, a brutal battle awaits this summer. Defenders like him don't come around often. Who wins? We'll know soon enough. Manchester United are officially in the race for Julian Nagelsmann. According to Top Skills Sports, the 38-year-old German is now the top candidate to become the new man in charge at Old Trafford. United's leadership genuinely believes Nagelsmann can be for Manchester what Jurgen Klopp became for Liverpool, a coach who builds a dominant system and keeps it running for years. The person driving this hardest is Christopher Vivell. United's recruitment director got a permanent contract in February 2025 and is now the central figure in the club's sporting operation. He and Nagelsmann go way back. Their partnership was already proven at RB Leipzig. Vivell isn't just floating the name. He's fully in Nagelsmann's corner, calling him a tactical genius who can bring order to United's messy, disorganized play. His role has grown well beyond recruitment now. He's essentially setting the club's long-term direction, and the head coach appointment is the cornerstone of that vision. For now, Nagelsmann is locked in with the German national team. His contract with the German FA runs to 2028, but there's one key clause that changes everything. His future is directly tied to Germany's result at the next World Cup. A bad tournament could open the door to his exit, and United would be right there waiting. The club is also aware that getting him early this summer would mean a hefty compensation payment. Now, good news on the fee front. Subscribing to this channel costs you absolutely nothing. No need to be Jim Ratcliffe, no penalty clauses with any football federation. It's free, but honestly, it means more to me than a £100 million signing. Just hit the button. As for Ineos, by all accounts, the financial side isn't a deal-breaker when the coach in question is at this level. Why Nagelsmann? He's built his reputation on aggressive, high pressing combined with developing young players. That's precisely what United are crying out for. The team keeps throwing away leads, game after game, with no clear structure and no tactical adaptability. Nagelsmann, who honed everything at Leipzig and Bayern, looks like exactly the kind of coach who can sort those deep-rooted issues out. The club's plan is clear enough. Michael Carrick carries the team through the rest of this season as caretaker, giving United time to avoid panic decisions and set everything up properly for the summer. Early conversations with Nagelsmann's camp have already happened, and he's reportedly very open to the challenge. Old Trafford is an appealing next step after international football. The seat is empty, Vivell wants his guy in it, and that guy happens to be someone he already built one of Europe's best-looking teams with. If it all comes together, this summer could be the start of a whole new German chapter at Manchester United.